Welcome to episode 95 of the RXP podcast, where a group of working professionals come together to talk about the games, movies, and shows they love to enjoy in their free time. In case you're a returning listener, welcome back. And in case you're new, thanks for taking the time to give us a chance. I'm your host today, Alex. And joining me, as always, are my co-hosts, Matt.
What's going on?
Yasser.
Whoa, I'm next. Hello. My stomach's still grumbling, but I just ate dinner, so I should be good soon.
And Tiffany.
Hello. Wow, you ate dinner early.
It was a late lunch, early dinner kind of situation. We basically just hadn't eaten.
Leonard.
So yeah, here we are.
Okay. Leonard, I respect it.
Yeah, I broke up the order, so, I gave him less time to digest before he had to introduce himself.
It's like the first time he's ever been second. It's crazy.
This is crazy.
Just trying to mix things up, right? Like, we always kind of have a set order, but why does it have to be ordered like that? You can enjoy it any which way you want.
That's so true, Alex. I'm so here for this.
And on that note...
Oh,
great. Because on that note, we're going to go into today's topic. So in case you're wondering, today we're talking about, the way we enjoy things, right? So watching movies, listening to music, playing games, right? Obviously, we all have the platforms of choice, the places of choice that we enjoy these things, right? Whether, you're staying at home, just, Netflix and chilling, or you're out on the road playing your Steam Deck or your Portal maybe, or just on your mobile phone, or, maybe you're out on a Friday night and you're, hitting up dinner and a movie at the movie theater. And I want to lead things off because, when we're recording this is a very pertinent question because I haven't learned about it yet. Matt, you recently saw Furiosa, correct?
Ooh, yes.
In the movie theater, how was it? How was the movie theater experience for this movie? Spoiler free, of course.
This is an interesting one because I feel like we could have easily been talking about Dune 2. My movie experience with Dune 2, way different than Furiosa.
Oh, really? How so?
Okay.
I watched it on opening day, or opening night, really. And
which one?
Furiosa, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Dune 2. I feel like a week or two,
like a month.
Yeah, it was.
It felt like a month.
Yeah, it felt like that because we're just working with each other's schedules. It just was really hard to find time to get to the movie theater. And Furiosa was like weeks ago. I had finished watching. We watched Fury Road like leading up to it. I was like pumped. Let's plan this out. Opening night. Let's go. We go there, and there's not that many people, which kind of surprised me. Like, it wasn't as packed. Yeah. Which, like, now we know. Like, this is a week after it released. This is the lowest box office premiere for Memorial Day weekend in 30 years. 29 years, to be exact. Last time it was this low, Casper was the number one box office. So, like, remember that part of your childhood.
Wow.
Hey, don't sleep on Casper.
Casper is amazing.
It
goes to show it has nothing to do with the movie.
Ghost.
It just sometimes this happens.
That's just what happens. But I will say I enjoyed it. It is a fantastic time to go to the movies to watch Furiosa because more than anything else, it is just your senses are being hit on all sides. It's loud. There's stuff going on the screen. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I can actually confirm this. Oh,
okay, great. No,
sorry.
if you saw it too, great.
I did also see it. Yes, I actually went to see an IMAX on opening weekend, and it was actually packed.
Whoa, nice.
And so I was actually surprised how many people there was because it was kind of like an early show. It was a Saturday though, so like it's not too crazy. But seeing it in IMAX with the music sound blasting, it was perfect for this kind of movie, I feel, with a lot of these crazy action set pieces. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. So it was a really great time. And I think this kind of lends itself to a theater going experience. But I'm sure we'll get into more of that as we go along, Alex.
Yeah, so just to follow that up, so you're saying Furiosa will not be as enjoyable like at home, like unless you have like, let's say, a home theater like setup, you think?
I would, so like I hate when people say like watch it on the biggest screen possible. But I'm about to say, watch it on the biggest screen possible. Like, if you have a good home setup, like you got some decent speakers or a sound bar and a big TV, like has pretty good resolution, like go for it if that's what you're most comfortable with. But yeah, if you don't have that, or if you just want to be, I like, more than anything, I like being around people who like movies and like interacting with them as they do it. And it keeps me from like looking at my phone, which I hate doing, but like still sometimes, like you get a text message, you look at it for a second. Like when I'm in the movie, it doesn't matter if my phone is vibrating. I'm not looking at it. I'm not looking anywhere because I'm not being that guy. So I say for sure watch it in the movies.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I do feel like the experience of watching it with a large group of people definitely makes a difference for a movie that's considered like an experience kind of thing. But for me, I think the answer to that question is really very subjective. I feel like some people just really hate going to public settings to watch movies because then they have to deal with people that are deal with people that are on their phone.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see it from multiple perspectives, but I agree with Matt. Personally, I would want to be in theaters for something like this.
Is there a movie that's better at home than the theater
Bad movies.
in general?
I wouldn't
Bad
say
movie.
better.
I'm not saying only bad movies, but I'm saying like an example is a bad movie. So here's why I say this. Bad movies, one, you can like stop watching it whenever you want, right? So like you don't feel committed to the movie in any way. And then also sometimes you just want like background noise for a movie. I know a lot of people who do this, like just put on a random movie on Netflix and then just like go about their day. And really, that's the perfect time to just trial out a movie that other people think aren't as good or isn't as good, and just see if you like it. And if you do, maybe you sit down and watch it the next day, or maybe you just watch it while doing other things. But that's why I say bad movies is an example of a great thing to watch at home.
Yeah, maybe like movies that you're like, I like the trying movies. Like there's certain genres that maybe like aren't your bag, but hey, at home, at the comfort of your own home, you don't have to be there the whole time. I think one that really works well are like more silent movies or foreign movies where I'm having to read subtitles. I prefer being at home because sometimes if I'm a really slow reader or something is happening and I want to actually I will like low-key back it up 30 seconds and watch it again. And you can't do that in the movie theater, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a good point. I am kind of with you, Matt, in the sense that at the movie theater, I will never bring out my phone or do anything. All my attention is at the movie. And sometimes I choose to go to the theater to try to give that movie all the attention that it deserves, because I'm definitely guilty of using movies as an opportunity to multitask. Just this past Memorial Day weekend, I watched the Disney movie Wish on Disney Plus, but I was also organizing my Lorcana trading cards. So I was mostly paying attention to the movie, but also doing a lot of things with my hands. So that required me to like look at what I was holding. So I mean, I really liked the movie, honestly, and I feel like I'm probably going to give it another shot, like watching it all in one go, like just fully committed to it. But one of the assets of a Disney movie is the fact that it's a musical. So like when a song is happening, I don't need to see them dancing, or like, do you know what I mean? Like I'm listening to the music, and that's what I'm going to be listening to on Spotify. So like I don't need to see the animations involved with that, at least on, at this comfort watch, watching at home.
So you're saying in terms of like, is that for just all Disney movies or only the specific Disney ones with the musicals in them?
No, honestly, it really has to do with pedigree for me. Okay, case in point, I did not see Frozen 1 in the theater. I watched it at home from like a bootleg, like Asian website or something when I was in college, or whenever that movie came out. Like it's been ages, right? Like there was no Disney Plus. I couldn't rent it from Blockbuster. I mean, I know it's not that old, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't have Netflix,
Rest in
you know,
peace,
back
Blockbuster.
when it first came out. So I like bootlegged that thing, right? But then I watched it and I loved it. And so when the second Frozen movie came to the theater, we went. Like, Alex, we went together. We took our mom. Like, we went to the theater to see that movie because I was like, oh, I really like Frozen 1. What is Frozen 2 going to bring? Kind of same thing. I honestly can't. So Moana 2, the trailer for Moana 2 just premiered this week. I honestly cannot remember if I saw Moana in the theater. Actually, okay, I really can't remember. I can't remember if I saw it in the theater, but I'm going to probably try to see Moana 2 in the theater because I really liked Moana. And so with Wish, it came out, you know, in the fall last year, and just, it was really hectic. I mean, some people, like, marketers and like production companies think it might be a good idea to put movies out around the holidays, but no, it's actually really hard. Why would you do that? Everyone's traveling, everyone's trying to see their family. They really like only go to the movie with their family if they don't like their family and they want an excuse to not speak to them for like 2 hours. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when you, as an adult, like, you're just not thinking about going to the theater while you're also trying to cook a Thanksgiving dinner for, like, all your in-laws. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that, but, like, there are people, like, there are Christmas movie families. Have you ever met those people? Like, my family's not that.
Yes.
Like, we are, like, nope, we're staying at home.
the
We'll watch
Hallmark
movies at
movie.
home. Yeah, like, no, but people will go out. Like, every Christmas, like, whatever movie's being released on Christmas Day, they're going to watch it with their family. It's like those people that get up on Thanksgiving and do turkey trots. Like, I'm not one of those families, but
Yeah.
they do exist.
Right. And so, I mean, obviously, but you're listening to this podcast to hear our recommendations point of view, right? So, like, I'm not, I mean, I will fight to see it if it's something that I really do want to see, right? Like, and also that's another thing, Alex. I will go to the theater when my anticipation is so great. I cannot fathom waiting for it to come on streaming and then get spoiled by the internet.
Ooh, that's true.
That's another thing. I will fight my way to the theater. Deadpool versus Wolverine, bought my tickets last week. Like,
You bought mine too.
We have it for the crew. I bought his too. It's coming out in July. I'm seeing that opening night. Okay?
I have a question. What do you all think about horror movies? Is it better at home or in front of a crowd? Because I have an answer.
100% in the theater. No.
Okay.
Come on, Alex. Come on.
I just don't give them a shot. You won't find me watching at home or at the theater. Never.
So
Ain't taking no risk.
I'm with you about, like, horror's not, like, usually my genre. There are times, though, you go to a horror movie and there's a bunch of high schoolers or, like, college age kids and making, like, jokes, and it, like, kills this, you know, like I watched this
Or
reel.
it adds the hilarity to it.
No, it adds
It adds
hilarity.
way more hilarity than it does annoyance, typically, from my experience. But it can happen for sure. You're right.
I'm just saying, like, if we're taking it seriously, right? You know, like, in, like, the build up, and because, like, I don't watch horror movies to, like, well, some of them, actually, that's not true. Some of them I definitely watch them to laugh at. But, like, I saw this reel of this guy, and they were, like, watching his friends. I think it was Annabelle, whatever, like, doll. It's like,
Sure, yeah,
doll.
Yeah, with the
and
doll.
It, like,
Yeah.
turns its head slowly to the camera, and some guy goes, "Welcome to Chili's." And, like, everybody just burst out laughing. And, like, oh, yes, that would be hilarious. And it makes a perfect reel. Does that add to your experience in the way of a horror movie? I don't know. It just put it in there.
No, but does it add to your experience of the movie? Yes.
Probably.
I mean, maybe not your, like, actual enjoyment of the movie as a piece of art, right?
Yeah.
But as part of the movie going experience, you know, that would be very memorable to happen, like, in the theater. You know, you always get the person that, like, yells out, like, "Don't go down that hallway! Don't open that door! Don't hide under the bed!"
So good.
There was literally one time in college, I went to, like, the dollar movie theater in undergrad, and someone, I think I was watching The Black Dress or the horror movie with Daniel Radcliffe in it. The other woman, I don't remember, but one of the people in the audience that I was watching with said, "Oh, hell no!" Like, during one scene, we all laughed. I prefer watching horror movies at home because I want to be able to talk through it and prevent myself from being scared. That's the reason. I also don't want to pay to go to a horror movie because that's also not my genre of choice. But if it's Halloween and I have a friend that's like, let's watch a bunch of 3 horror movies tonight because it's Halloween, I'll be like, okay, sure. But like, I will be talking through the entire thing so that I don't go home and have nightmares.
Yeah, I feel like my answer is like a mix of what everyone just said. Because for me, I feel like obviously I don't care about the fact that it's scary, but I don't find horror movies like typically super, super well made to the point where I'm like, yo, shut up. I'm trying to enjoy this movie.
The cinematography.
Right, exactly. Right. It's more just like we're all out trying to have a good time watching a horror movie. And if someone says something goofy during a really tense scene, it's typically a funny thing. I feel like the most recent experience that I've had with this, or at least the one that comes to mind, was Get Out, where there were a lot of like low-key funny scenes in that movie, even though it's like really well made and it's it can be terrifying depending on who's watching it. But there are some really funny scenes where like there was actually comedy in the movie too. And for me, I think horror and comedy movies specifically, I love watching in theaters because you can hear people's reactions. In a comedy, you can hear people like laughing at jokes, and that happens in horror movies as well. But also you can just hear the reactions of people freaking out when something crazy happens, which I think adds to the experience in some ways. But I get where you're coming from, Matt, where sometimes it can be too much or inappropriate to the point where like, I'm kind of just trying to enjoy this and you're doing your own thing right now.
I also have to say, like, I do love the theater, and I was very disappointed during the COVID-19 pandemic where everything was shut down and I couldn't go enjoy that stuff. But I have to say that the theater experience is something that I enjoy going to mostly with friends. I have developed a tolerance to going by myself, but I feel like my issue nowadays with the theater, even though it's back in abundance, right, it's like literally finding the time when it feels like movie theaters are shoving these movies like out sooner than ever before. Like it's like the first week and a half you have like 800 showtimes per day, and then the moment you're like literally on the next weekend, I like look and there's like 3 options and I'm like, what's happening? Like legitimately, I've been planning to see The Fall Guy. I've been wanting to see The Fall Guy in theater for literally 3 weeks, and then 2 days ago I like found last week I found out that it was already on streaming.
Yeah.
They were just like, it's not in theater, it's gone. And I literally was like, wait, I was honestly thinking about going to see it Memorial Day weekend for like the one show time that they had, right? And so it's kind of like this weird situation where it's like, do you even want us to go to the theater? I'm like so confused. Like, you're not making this accessible for me.
It's one of those things where the state of movies is in it's a weird predicament, because it used to be you live and die by box office first weekend. Those first 3 days, maybe 4 days, if you have like a nice holiday around it, that's what bases everything. But something like Furiosa, which has a budget of like $169 million, having $30 million on the first weekend, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that'd be a death sentence. George Miller's like, well, I guess I'm retiring finally at the age of 80. Like this is it for me. But all these things like Fall Guy, it's like a new place. Like putting on Fall Guy, making someone pay $20 to rent it from the comfort of their own home. Like they're only doing that if it makes financial sense. And I think Fall Guy is probably one of the quickest that we've seen. Was it like 17 days in theater before it switched to digital VOD? Something crazy
I could believe
like
that number. It was because it was literally the midweek of a week. Like it was like a Wednesday. It went on streaming, right? So it came out on a Friday. So yeah, that probably tracks.
Like one of my friends that I follow on Letterboxd, like I know her in real life, but like let me see her on Letterboxd. She does not like going to the movie theater. She watches everything on streaming or video on demand. Like that is just what she does. She's watched probably like 40 some movies this year, all at home. And I've watched like 63 movies and I've like done a little bit of a mix, but like she is like, nope, I will wait for video on demand. I will pay $20 and that's how I like it. So like, which she's also quite a bit younger than me. Like she's like maybe 6 years younger than me. So maybe like a newer generation of wanting to be at home and like the art of streaming and all these things. But I don't know, maybe more people think less about going to the theater than we do. Question mark?
Yeah, I feel like it is kind of trending that way. I feel like the old guard was always like, oh, you have to experience a movie in the theater. You have directors like Christopher Nolan saying, I make movies so people can watch it in a theater. But we see more and more now that people just want to watch and do what they want, when they want, where they want. And so if that means watching a movie on your phone, literally I've seen people do that. I've never done it, but who am I to say like that's not an appropriate way to experience a movie? So I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that in the future because I think it's pretty obvious that more and more people actually want to be able to watch things wherever they go.
I mean, I will say even like during the pandemic, I did purchase some of the movies like for the weekend to watch it quote unquote early. Like Black Widow happened. I paid for that. The Mulan Disney movie, I paid for that. You know, it was like $30 to get it. But then, you know, we did a watch party and I watched it like with two different groups over the weekend to quote unquote make it worth it. So I will watch the movie wherever I need to if as soon as I want to. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I do wonder like how different movie viewing is going to be like 20 years down the line. Like I wonder if the pandemic was like a little bit of a peek into the future of what that's going to look like, or is it going to kind of stay the course? I'm kind of curious. What do you guys think?
Remember when Warner Brothers released all their movies during COVID day and date on Max?
Yeah.
Like Dune Part 1 was on Max the same day it was released. Like that to me seems so crazy, which like only a pandemic could cause. But I totally agree with you, Yasser. I think it's going to be just like that. Like a paywall right at the beginning. You get in there, you can watch it wherever you want. Like I almost wonder, movie theaters, I could see big companies like AMC, Regal, all those not shutting down, but definitely decreasing in how many across nationwide, and it being more like independent movie theaters that show independent films, and that's it. And there's part of me that like that's really sad, but there's also part of me that's like that could be cool too, I guess. Like then it's like just a very niche thing. Like this is just turning into people who go to the movie theater. This is a niche hobby, like way more than it's ever been our entire life.
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about, honestly. But it does kind of seem like it's going that way. I know theaters are pushing back and trying to make it as enticing as possible, but I feel like more than anything, giving people more options, you'll see that people will take that option to watch it at home rather than in theater.
They need more Dune buckets. Like how many Dune buckets do we need to sell to fund Dune Part 3? Like that.
Well, they need to do more like cool stuff like that though, right? To like make the experience actually kind of memorable and worthwhile.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of it kind of stems from, right, like movie theaters in general being that kind of like key point of a day, right, or like of a night. You know, it's like always dinner and a movie, or just like you're going out to a movie. Like the movie was the destination, the movie theater. And right, as you guys mentioned, there seems to be a de-emphasis on like making the movie theater like a place people want to go to like convene and hang out. And so like you mentioned, you know, Yasser, with the whole, I guess not to say gimmicks, but besides the fact that obviously a movie theater is going to have like the sound system, is going to have the screen, you know, it's going to have those things that are unique to a movie theater, right? Like there needs to be other reasons of why you would want to go there, you know? And I feel like some places kind of do, right? Like Alamo Drafthouse, you know, you have like the dinner and the movie combined, you know, that type of stuff where it's like built into the one experience. So they want to not have you like eat outside, but you can just get everything all at once, you know, even though, you know, I prefer not to eat during a movie. So like that would never appeal to me, but it seems to be, it needs to be something like that, something like the Doom popcorn bucket to get people to say, well, I could watch it at home, get my group of friends to my house, right? Like, let's say I have a, 100-inch projector. I have surround sound, I can get almost there, but I can't get XYZ because that's only at the movie theater. So, maybe that is the thing, right? Like, it becomes more, as Matt mentioned, that niche item to say, oh, wow, this city has a movie theater. Like, that could be the future where it's like maybe not every city has theaters anymore. It's just like, oh yeah, of course the big ones are going to have it, but obviously if you go out to, Martinsville, they're not having a movie theater. But moving on from that, Yasser mentioned, where's another place you can enjoy stuff, right? The phone. So that's my question to you guys. And I don't know how much, I guess, media or things you consume on your phone, but is the phone kind of like a place, like a destination for you guys to enjoy something? Like, is there specific things you only enjoy on the phone, whether you're at home or kind of on the go? Like, what does the phone enable you to enjoy?
So I use my phone for a lot of things. I watch YouTube on my phone, which is almost like equivalent to what Yasser was saying. Like, why do people watch movies on their phone? Sometimes I watch YouTube videos that are almost like 40 minutes long, right? Like these YouTube channels that like have content that I enjoy. But I've watched Netflix on my phone. I've watched movies on my phone. I sometimes have to use my phone as my media device on an airplane. That's like, we don't have screens for you on this 6-hour flight. You got to use your phone. So I have that. I read on my phone. I got the Kindle app on my phone. And I also play mobile games. So my phone, listen, I paid over $1,000 for this device. Like, it's going to be, I'm going to use it. Okay. I do not have a TV in my bedroom. And because of that, that's when I'm on my phone, which is also like really bad for sleep hygiene. I completely acknowledge that. Like, my sleep hygiene could be so much better if I just wasn't on my phone in my room. But you know what? It's 2024. And again, I paid a lot of money for this device, so I'm going to use it to do whatever the hell I want. I do have to say, though, so I have a Kindle device and my phone Kindle app. I'm not going to lie. I honestly just use whatever's closest to me. And
oh, yeah. I mean, it's phone adjacent.
Yeah, but if my phone is starting to feel too bright, because sometimes I read in the dark, I stop using my phone and I use my Kindle, because the light contrast is,
Gotcha.
more acceptable for my eyeballs. Even though I also don't read it without light. That don't do as I do.
That's the true recommendation of the day. Don't read without unless you're in a well lit room.
Yes.
I use my phone all the time. Like, majority of the time, I'm going to be, like, if I do watch something, it will be on my phone maybe initially, especially if, like, I'm on the go. In the morning, I actually watch quite a bit of movies before I go to work, which sometimes is weird. Like, sometimes I'm just, like, maybe a short film or something that's, like, less than 2 hours. I might just get up and start playing it. And I'm making coffee, and I'm in the kitchen, and I'm just kind of like waiting for coffee to brew. I might watch the first like 30, 45 minutes on my phone. And then once I get my coffee, like I'll just switch it to the TV in the living room and just like drink the coffee. Like, of course, I have standards. All right. Like, when I was like planning on rewatching Fury Road, am I going to watch that on my phone? No. But did I watch Mad Max Thunderdome, which is Mad Max 3 on my phone? Yes. Yes, I did. Was Tina Turner in that? Yes. Did I really enjoy the movie? Yeah, I actually did. But I enjoyed it on my phone because that's not like a technical marvel. There's literally a character called Master, and he is on the shoulders of this big guy named Blaster. So literally Master Blaster and Tina Turner are the enemies of this movie. That's perfect for a
Sounds
phone.
like a cinematic masterpiece.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, but yeah, keep Fury Road for the surround sound. Keep Thunderdome on your phone.
Yeah. I feel like I totally agree with that. In general, I feel like my answer to that has kind of changed over the past like 10 years. I feel like I used to consume media on my phone a lot. I even used to like try to get bigger phones so I can enjoy consuming that media even better. But since then, like in the past 5 or so years, I tried to transition away from my phone as much as possible and use it more as just like when I need to message people, when I need to contact people, when I need to like bridge the gap where like Tiffany was saying, I'm on an airplane, I need something to watch something, right? I use my phone in those situations now. And then also maybe use my phone to cast to bigger screens like Matt was saying as well. But typically nowadays, I don't feel like I consume my phone for anything. Like I don't consume it for videos. I don't consume it for movies. I obviously like music is fine because you're not really using your phone for that. You're just like playing it from your phone.
Right.
And then I also do like audiobooks from my phone. So I guess similar concept.
Oh yeah.
But in general,
audio. I mean, where else could you do audiobooks?
Yeah,
from?
exactly. You could do it from a computer or a tablet, but obviously that's not as ideal because you're trying to like listen to it as you go too.
Yeah.
I want to use my iTouch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But yeah, I feel like I've transitioned away, and I've never been someone who's watched movies on my phone. Shows, yes, in the past, but not movies. And so over time, it's just been transitioned to less and less on my phone personally.
That's interesting that you talk about transitioning away from that, because this was honestly the biggest reason why I got a PlayStation Portal.
Yeah,
was
that's a good point.
because I was playing with a backbone, and my phone is like it's not the nicest phone. Like I don't have like a home button on my iPhone, so I'm not like that bad, but like I'm not also that far. Like I don't have 3 cameras on the back
Wow, way
of it.
to age yourself, Matt.
Yeah. So, it's not the nicest phone. It's not like the nicest quality. It's not OLED screen or anything. Yeah, I don't even know if they have OLED screen iPhones. But, it was a little bit clunky. What I really hated was people would text me and it would get me out of the game experience. And I was like, I need to just separate church and state here. Like I need something that's separate to it, to where I'm not getting constantly distracted. People like, oh, Bleacher Report, great, this guy tore his ACL. Did I need to know that while I'm playing this game? No, I didn't. So I got the PlayStation Portal, and honestly, no looking back. I was actually at a conference for work. I guess this was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, maybe 2 weeks ago, a week ago, something like that. The big thing with PlayStation Portal is that you don't have a browser, so you can't authenticate to hotel Wi-Fi. But I brought my Mac to try to spoof it so that I could play my PlayStation Portal. Couldn't figure it out at first, so I just was like, fine, I'll use my backbone. Man, it hurt. Like, it was like, this is, I did not miss this at all. So I ended up just spending another hour and a half to like figure out the spoofing, and then I figured it out, and I was like, this is great. And then I realized hotel Wi-Fi was trash, and I was like, this is not great. So PlayStation
Dang.
Portal, where it's at.
But you kind of just convinced me that it's not where it's at. Like I'm not
In a hotel,
interested now.
No, not a thing. But here in my house, love it. It's perfect for me.
I don't what, but okay.
Yeah, so that's I guess the thing though, really, is that the Portal is a second screen for your home rather than like out and about. And if you have good internet out and about, then you could consider it there. But really, it's more just I'm in my home. I don't have the main screen available to me, but I have this Portal and it has all these cool DualSense stuff. So I get it from that perspective.
It feels ergonomically perfect, just like, a Pulse, whatever. But they do actually have like portable routers that you could use that like you can use with anything. You can hotspot to it. You can get hotel Wi-Fi onto that. It was just one of those things when I was thinking about it, I was like, I leave tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to get this extra like $15, $20 piece of something. So I think there is hope for that if people are out there. But for me, it was just a quick fix.
Quick tip for you, Matt. Did you try hotspotting your iPhone? If you had good signal anyway. I don't know where you were.
I did.
Oh,
ended up
didn't work
doing
out?
that for a little bit. No, I hotspotted with my work phone. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
Nice. Excellent.
We
They've
won't
got a
divulge where he
better
works,
data plan than I do.
Perfect.
It's fine.
It was for work purposes, okay?
Was I at a work conference?
His workplace.
Yes.
Was at a work conference.
True.
He was on business, all right? There's no exploitation of company resources here. Yeah, I mean, I guess to further expand on that, we can go beyond, obviously already going beyond the phone, are there other things that you guys use? Tiffany mentioned, obviously, Kindle, Matt mentioned the portal. Is there any other bespoke device that you guys have that you want to, like, shout out? That has helped you enjoy something, right? That you couldn't be in one place, but this thing has like extended my enjoyment by the fact of having it as small or as big as it could be.
I mean, are we not gonna shout out the Switch? I guess we haven't even mentioned that once, but
no one talks about the stinky Switch. We don't talk
oh
about
my
that
gosh.
here.
No, I like this, even though I legitimately have not booted up my Switch in 2024. Actually, that's a lie. I booted it up in February to pre-order a game, and then I booted it up to download that game, and then I've never played that game.
Does Nintendo.com
So that is what
mean nothing to you? You can just do it
Yeah,
online.
it really doesn't. But normally, like, the Switch has been what I want the Portal to be, which
Yeah.
apparently it's not.
Interesting.
So here's the thing, though. I have now started playing my Switch a lot because I finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Next on the list, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door on Switch. And man,
Nice.
I wish the Portal was the Switch, because this thing does not feel good. The Switch does not feel good. The battery life is trash.
Oh.
And I don't like the screen. I don't like the size. Like, everything about it. I'm like, because I'm just used to the Portal. Because the majority of my gaming, honestly, this year on my PlayStation has been on the Portal. And man, I feel like a spoiled brat because I'm like, this thing sucks. Like, it is not good. So I'm excited for Portal 2 not Portal 2. I would be excited
Switch
for Portal 2. I'm excited for Switch 2 to hopefully add in some of those things. Man, do I wish I had a Steam Deck. Like, that makes me feel stronger and stronger about should I make the dive to a Steam Deck.
Alex is
No, the
breaking
Steam
out
Deck
his
is
Steam
too
Deck.
heavy. It's too heavy.
All right.
The Steam.
I'm glad that we're finally bringing up gaming. Honestly, I am the exact opposite of Matt. I don't like playing video games on like a mobile device. It just does not appeal to me at all. I want to be like totally immersed. Well, typically, obviously, the one big issue is a lot of the games I play are multiplayer games. And
True.
playing multiplayer games, trying to like chat with people, not something you really do in a mobile setting. So that's like problem number one, obviously. But then the other thing is when I'm playing like a single player game, I want to be like totally immersed. I want to be able to use the headphones I want or the sound system I want with the best screen possible. And that typically is not a mobile device. So for me, like the Switch hardly ever gets used to the point where I typically only play Switch games when I'm like traveling, like when I'm visiting my family, when I'm going out and going to be away from home for like 5+ days. That's when my Switch is coming along and I'm going to get some Switch time in. But for me, like if I have the choice, I typically don't want to go for the smaller form factor, even if there are great options, whether it be like cloud streaming or actual like games that are made for a mobile device like the Switch. I always would prefer to play on a like actual bigger device. So that's why I don't feel like I'm the target market for like a Portal or something of that sort.
Are you saying that you don't even play the Switch docked?
No, because the Switch dock sucks. At least in my
What?
opinion, like the resolution sucks. The like frame rate performance is awful. Like it gets worse when it's docked. So like
okay.
typically for Nintendo games, I just like deal with it because it's like Pokemon game. I usually play that portable anyways. So it wasn't really like a huge deal. But then as a result, I don't really play Pokemon as much because I don't want to play my Switch. So that's kind of like the issue I run into. I hope that the Switch 2 has like better capabilities docked where at least we can get like a 4K display, even if it's upscaled, please. That'd be great. But yeah, that's why I'm really hoping that the next Switch is actually more powerful than what Nintendo's currently offering.
You also have the OLED version of the Switch,
I
right?
do.
Yasser?
Yeah, which I actually like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
actually do like the OLED, but it's still not as good as like my monitor or my TV.
True.
That's fair. Alex recently got a Steam Deck, and he did a lot of work to be able to let me try out Balatro from my PlayStation on his Steam Deck. And let me just say that my wrists started hurting after playing for
Really?
like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Weak wrist.
I mean, that could possibly be it. I thought,
You should put on
honestly,
braces,
to me,
you know? And it's
Yeah,
like, oh, did you
when
injure
I was-
yourself? Oh, no, that's just my Steam Deck wristlets.
when I held your Portal and I held the Steam Deck, and I was like, these weigh the same. To me,
Really?
they weigh the same.
And then I give it to
But
Alex,
then
and
when-
Alex is like, no, they don't.
And then I held the Steam Deck while playing Balatro for like 20 minutes, and slowly my arms keep lowering closer and closer to my lap, and then like my right wrist started being in this weird angle because I was trying to lean back and play and hold it up, but then I was like, no, I had to like essentially crouch over the screen because I'm apparently a weak little girl, and I was like, I can't do this. The Steam Deck is too heavy.
Think about playing that in bed. You know, you put it over
Just,
top
like,
of you. You're like, your
slams on
whole
your face
life
and
is
die.
in your hands.
Yeah.
I would die. It
Drop
would
that
smash
brick
my face.
straight in.
Yeah. Straight. Luckily, I don't
Then
need to wear glasses in bed,
Then
but
instead
like
of the melatonin, she could just do that every night and then go straight to sleep.
Knocks
have
her
a
out. Yeah.
concussion.
Sleep,
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah,
I mean, no, I'm kind of, I'm all over the place. I don't want to say I'm 50-50, but in some cases, Yasser, I want to address your case in terms of with the Switch.
Mhm.
I feel like in a way, though, I'm kind of similar where there are some games, and not necessarily strictly limited to the Switch, but in general, right, that, you get on platforms, whether it's on my computer or on a console or on a mobile device, that end up being, it's something you want to get to, but then you never kind of feel the urge to do it because of what it's on.
Yeah.
But then I feel like with the Switch in particular, and I'm not trying to call out Nintendo, but a lot of their games really don't feel super time sensitive, right? Like it's not like something, when Tiffany was mentioning, right, wanting to go to the theater in order to avoid spoilers or something, so she's going to see it on the opening weekend. I feel like with a lot of Switch games, it's typically not something that gets spoiled, right? Because I'll be honest, and maybe I'm just not looking in those circles like on the internet, so I'm able to avoid it. But it's stuff like Tears of the Kingdom or Zelda, where I know a few things about what happens in Tears of the Kingdom, but I don't know like everything. And I feel like that was a game that was talked about when it came out last year, but maybe it's just the fact of the type of game that it was. It didn't beget, people going really in depth and kind of explaining everything, right? Of like, this means this, that, happens, yada, yada. And I feel like kind of is similar with a lot of Switch games where like, obviously recently we're getting more like kind of older titles coming back. Matt's playing Thousand Year Door, right? That came out, 2003, 2004, this is like a 20-year-old game. And people aren't really going to spoil it, right? Because the spoilers have been out there for the past 2 decades. And so it's not something you really need to worry about. Whereas kind of other things too, isn't like a lot of the games that come out for the platform, people don't tend to spoiler. And maybe that's just the nature of the platform, right? Because it's more of this kind of fun-oriented thing. But I fall into that same boat where a lot of my Switch games end up falling into that. I want to play these, but it's like a very specific scenario.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is what's going to take for me to like actually play it, right? Where almost I have no other option. So I guess I'll play this because I can't play.
I feel
anything
that in
else.
my bones.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to the Steam Deck, it for me was never meant to be a destination place for my gaming, right? Like
Sure.
Obviously I'm very comfortable with sitting in front of my monitors. I have 2K resolution monitors, they're 144 hertz refresh rate. Like I'm here for the quality similar to Yasser, but in the situations where I knew I was going to probably want a little bit of flexibility, I was like, you know what? The Steam Deck, I think, meets the requirements, right? It's something, it's its own, right, computing device. It's basically like a tablet / mobile computer. It has a processor, has a graphics chipset. This thing is a beefy boy, unlike the stinky Switch. And on top of that, right, it is Valve. They're typically an open platform. They use Linux-based OS. And so I was able to get remote play working on this thing, so I can remote play to my console, with it. So it's basically like a Portal. It doesn't have the Portal features, the haptics or the triggers or anything. So, it's not the exact feature parity, but I can remote play from anywhere. And then also at the same time, I was able to install Windows onto it, so I can now dual boot onto Windows. So if there are things that aren't available on Steam, but there is a PC version, I can get that installed. And I've had fun getting. Well, I didn't have fun getting the dual boot working on it, but I have enjoyed the fruits of my labor of playing something that is only on PC and not through Steam. So it has paid off all my hours of labor. But yeah, no, I feel like a lot of the time I find like mobile devices that complement, right? Stuff like YouTube. I'm the same way. I'll start things on, if I'm like walking around my house or trying to do something else, I'll start it on my phone. But then once I'm done, if I can get to my computer, I'm just going to pull up YouTube, on my PC and just have that running in the background while I do something else. Same thing with gaming, right? Like, stuff like Hearthstone. I enjoy Hearthstone a lot. I've played it for almost... Man, it's been like 13 years now, but it's been a very clean split of I enjoyed a lot on my phone, and maybe this is just because of how great the game runs like on mobile and as well as on PC, but I've enjoyed it on my phone. Heck, I've even done the thing where like I've started a game on one platform and then I've transitioned and I've like continued it, right? Because you can resume on another. So I've started on my phone, switched to my PC, I've started on my PC, switched to my phone, and that's been great. And I think mobile for me ends up being this extender to continue enjoying or to streamline the experience, to say I don't need to like clean start and stop. I can kind of like blend everything together, so I don't need to I guess waste time in some cases. But I'm definitely of also the kin where there's a lot of things that I just prefer never to launch on mobile, right? Playing console games, especially on PlayStation, like a lot of these titles, right? Sony first party is not making games for you to enjoy, on your phone, right? Via the backbone. Like that's not the intended way. Like it's on a high resolution screen running natively on your PlayStation 5, wherever that may be, right? Whether it's a TV, whether it's a computer monitor, I'm going to enjoy that way. I have enjoyed it that way. Being able to like put the noise canceling headphones on and not worry about the outside world. That's kind of my preferred experience. And I feel like, they've earned that respect, right? And I feel like that's the thing too, kind of how movie theaters back in the day, like earned the title of like, if you want to enjoy this, like this is the place where you're going to enjoy it. And I feel like that's the same way with games these days where, right, like there are public gaming spaces, right? Like PC cafes, where you're playing multiplayer games, you're in these public spaces. Like there's so many people playing all these games on all these PCs, but it's still relatively focused around the single player experience, right? Or at least you interacting, with the controller in the game itself. And so I've, focused on that experience more lately because I have kind of moved away from the multiplayer space. Like I'll play co-op games, but I'm not really into competitive multiplayer anymore. And so it's been this kind of weird change for me where back in the day, I was playing multiplayer games all the time. And so I really didn't care where I was, right? Like I could be hanging with my friends. I could be in a noisy place, right? Like if I'm on my laptop, on college campus, I'm gaming in like the dining hall, like no problem. But nowadays I'm kind of like moved to that, I want to be in my dark corner where you can't really see, my face or my body as I'm blending into the darkness.
Face or my body.
Yeah, but I'm only lit up by the light of my screen, But I think it's definitely been a like shift for me because I also didn't necessarily emphasize quality as well, right? Like the Switch obviously at launch did not bother me. There's a lot of games that obviously ran great. When I was able to demo Mario Odyssey at E3 like on a Switch, right? That was my first time ever holding a Switch. and being able to experience the game, right? That convinced me to say, hey, Nintendo can make games for this platform. It doesn't really matter what else can or can't run on it if I can play Nintendo first party. And lo and behold, here we are 7 years later, and really still only Nintendo first party can make games for it. So they still proven the point of, if you're gonna enjoy, if you love Nintendo, like, get it. Otherwise, maybe think about getting something else, whether it's a PC or just other console.
I mean, I do have to say that after playing Balatro and getting into it a little bit, I was like, man, it would be so nice if this was on the Switch, because I could just lie down and precariously hold my Switch above my head while I play.
It's a great Portal game. Listen, your
I will say, like,
hygiene's already awful, so you might as well do PlayStation Portal Balatro like me.
I feel like games like that though are like perfect for a mobile companion device where like
100%.
you can start it in the living room if you want to, but then when you're ready to leave your apartment or go to bed, you have that option of an additional device that you can just chill and play a relaxing game like that. I don't know how relaxing Balatro is, but you get my point.
Quite. You get into a zen for sure.
Oh, really? You don't get like stressed about losing?
No, I usually have an audiobook on and
Nice.
I'm playing Balatro, so I'm at peace.
Sounds amazing.
All right, well, I think that's coming to the end. But before we end this episode, unless you guys have any other
I've got
remarks you
one
wanna
more
bring
thing
up.
to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can
All
I,
right, Matt.
Can I talk about something
go.
that's very recent?
Sure.
We talk about goals, right? We have these goals. I've already crushed my movie goal, like 52 new movies in 2024. Done. Like, done in May. Get it out of here. I don't even want to look at it anymore. Gaming, working on it. Books, not going anywhere. So I decide, man, I don't know how I'm going to read all these books. I definitely have some undiagnosed attention problem in my life, just personally. And I'm like, that may play into it. I also don't like sitting down for too long. I'd rather, like, if I'm sitting down, I'd rather play a game or watch a movie. What do? I listen to all these podcasts all the time. And then I think back to one of my friends who has told me literally for 5 years, Matt, you should give audiobooks a try. And let me tell you, I started an audiobook on Monday. And I'm about 2.5 books in this week that I've listened to.
Oh my gosh.
Because I've just replaced a lot of my podcasts, and I've listened to 2 books in the past 2 days, and I'm halfway through another one, and
Love it.
I'm like, to me personally, and this is something I'm dealing with, and I've already texted Tiffany about this. It almost feels like easy mode because I'm such an auditory learner at baseline. Like, it seems too easy to be called reading, because usually reading takes me months and is like an arduous process. But
Yeah.
diving into these worlds and understanding what's happening and really paying attention while I'm doing random things around the house or whatever, driving to work.
He's playing
doing whatever.
Balatro.
I tried Balatro, and then I was like, I'm not focused enough on the book, so I switched to a podcast. Like, I'm trying to still, focus in on it.
Okay.
And because I don't want it to just count as like checking a box. I really want to dive into the world and like really understand it and like be able to think back to it. But I think I've come to the consensus after asking about 10 people and all of them saying, of course it counts. But I'm saying, I guess it counts.
It counts. It's
Yeah.
reading. You didn't even
But
say,
it's not
you didn't
reading,
even say
though.
if it counts.
Technically, it's not reading.
It's reading.
No, technically, it's not.
It counts as
It's like
It counts-
literally.
It's like someone's
you're
reading
not
to you.
experiencing a book.
You're not reading.
It's you're experiencing
You
a
are
book.
experiencing the
It
book.
counts. It counts. The whole thing counts. Listen, also, was the other audiobook that you listened to, I'm glad my mom died?
Yeah.
See, I love that because that was also narrated by the author.
By the author,
which I love as well. Yeah.
And that in of itself revolutionizes autobiographies for me.
Right.
Like I've listened to so many that way, and it really helps and is like so joyous. It's interesting to me that I guess you're confessing that you're a good auditory learner, because sometimes I'm like listening to these, I'm like, wait, what's happening? I cannot listen to a high fantasy audiobook. I tried listening.
Okay.
I tried listening to one that I don't know that I would argue that it's high fantasy, or I don't know that it calls itself high fantasy. It's just a little bit more fantasy, or there's a lot of world building. Let's call it that, right? Like there's a lot of world building, and me listening to this book at the speed I was listening at, which by the way, Matt, which speed did you settle on?
Like 1.2 or something.
Okay.
Gets rid of the awkward
Okay.
pauses, but still like doesn't feel like they're.
Yes.
And she went through.
They were like
okay,
Okay, listen, 1.5 doesn't sound like that. Did you even try to go to 1.5?
Oh, I went to like 2. Like I went
Oh
to
my God.
because they give you buttons, right? And I'm like,
That
Yes.
over here's like speed
let's
creates
see,
speed.
let's see what these buttons do. I went to 2, and I was like, what is happening? How
What
can
language is
someone-
this?
It's just like,
Yeah.
and then he went down, and it's like, what? Anyway, so then I went to 1.5.
He hasn't had enough
It
coffee to
still
handle
felt
that
a
yet.
little chipmunky at 1.5, so I just like brought it down to 1, and then slowly went up until I started noticing a difference and stopped. Like I'm not trying to
Okay.
speed through these. It's just I'm trying to get rid of some of like the dramatic, awkward pauses.
Yes. But I think that most audiobooks sound like this.
Exactly.
Which is
Some of
why
them do.
I have so I have minimum 1.5. But anyway, so I was trying to like listen and without the visuals of a, like a world building TV show, and without me like my eyeballs reading the words on the page, I struggled with grasping what was happening. And I think this is where I learned that I'm not a complete audio learner. I even stopped my like multitasking to concentrate on this book, and I was like, what? So there's like a king and there's like 3 kingdoms, or are they but there's one dude that's abdicate. What? Like I was like, I can't do this. So I kind of paused that, and then I was like, I'm just going to go to the physical book at a later date.
Yeah,
See,
I feel like.
Um
Oh, sorry, Matt. You can go ahead.
No. Well, I was just saying, like, this is basically replacing a lot of my podcasting at this point, like in the
Yeah.
past
Right.
couple days. Honestly, a lot of it was because a lot of my podcasts were off for the holiday. And so there was a gap in my podcast because I honestly listened to probably realistically 6 to 8 hours of podcasts a day. Realistically.
That's so much.
Because
I-
That's like a book.
But like that's how I gain a lot of my knowledge on anything.
World
like,
news?
Like
Yeah,
that's how I
yeah.
keep up to date in medicine. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts
Yeah.
that literally just talk through trials, and that's how I absorb it. And then I don't like they're just reading the methods, and I have the methods. Like I
Yeah.
have just incorporated that into my like professional life, but then like that's how I know about the box office and like how much Furiosa made and how much Casper made 29 years ago. Like those are all podcast things that I'm like, that's how I gather my
He is the friendly
information.
ghost.
And so it just fits so well into how I incorporate things into my
Consume media.
life that it
Yeah.
feels very easy to me. And I definitely like I hear Yasser kind of like naysaying it, and that's how I feel inside of me. Like I feel
No.
very self-conscious
No.
about it. I'll be honest, like I've been very
You
self-conscious.
Absolutely shouldn't.
But here's my counterpoint to myself. Literally walking our dog, I'm talking to Maddie, and I am trying to talk myself out of being self-conscious about audiobooks for myself. And she's like, I don't understand. Like, why? It's fine. But I would never have read these books and been in these worlds if I did not do audiobooks this week. Like, when is
Yeah.
the time I'm
Yeah.
going to read Mickey 7 in preparation for Jung Boon-ho's Mickey 17 that's going to release in 2025? Like, I listened to that and I know that story now, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
have done it if I didn't have audiobooks.
Listen,
so
let me-
that's my own argument.
Let
My
me
own
clarify, all right? Because I only got like 5 seconds to say something, and then like we all went through our like opinions, which is fine, obviously. But I'm totally not saying that like listening to an audiobook doesn't count as like you went through a book this year. You're definitely experiencing the book. I was just saying technically you're not reading it. You're listening someone else read it for you or do the dialogue, whatever. But technically, like reading, the verb is reading the book. That's all I was saying. I was just like making
right.
a half joke. But overall, I listen to audiobooks. I love audiobooks. For me, I think I'm kind of like in the middle of what both Tiffany and Matt said, where I can definitely do it while I'm doing other things, but depending on like the chapter or what's going on in the book, or maybe the book itself, I might want to be doing something that's a little bit less focus grabbing. So like if I'm driving, this is perfect. I'm never paying attention when I'm driving. Or like if I'm
Why would you?
right, of course. Or like I'm commuting like on
You have a self-driving car, you know?
right. Thank you, Elon. No, but if I'm like commuting or doing something that's like very mundane, like cleaning, whatever it might be, then I can like listen to whatever, whether it be a podcast, audiobook. I can do that without being distracted. But if I'm also doing something else, like watching a show or playing a game, I can't do that while also listening to like a podcast or an audiobook. I feel like I would be like absorbing it, but how much am I, or consuming it, I mean, but how much am I actually absorbing? Like Matt said, I actually want to know what the book is about. That's why I put it on my list, because I want to like hear what the author has to say. And for me, like I'm not typically a great auditory learner. I do want some visual. So I totally agree with you, Tiffany. Sometimes like when I'm reading a book, like, wait a minute, didn't they just say in that previous page something completely different? And so I would like flip back and be like, oh, okay, so they're just being condescending, or maybe they're lying to this other character. But you can't really do that in audiobook. You can, but it's like really annoying. You have to rewind to the right dialogue, and obviously it's not as easy. So I do think depending on the book, sometimes reading it physically, like Tiffany said, makes more sense. But I totally agree with both of you that audiobooks are a great way to consume the majority of the books that I've experienced. And I feel like it does add to some books in particular. Like Tiffany said, I love autobiographies where the author is the audiobook reader, or if it's just like a book from the author that's not necessarily autobiographical, but just like explaining things in their lives and how they go about doing stuff in the future. I do like when the authors kind of lend their perspective to the words that they've already added, to give you that additional layer of experience.
Like Jeanette McCurdy, her memoir was like very traumatic, very heart-wrenching, and like there's literally one of the last chapters, she's literally tearing up while she's reading her book, and it is like, this is awesome. Like not in a way that I'm happy that she's sad, but like she's able to express so much more by me listening to her talk about this. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. The memoir is definitely probably the best that I've had out of the two, which now I'm listening to 3. So I did a sci-fi, which was great. A memoir, which I think memoir is like top tier way to do an audiobook in my past 30 days of experience on audiobooks. And then I've got this other one that I just started, which is The Midnight Library.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're doing audiobook for that one.
Because Maddie just read it. She's like, you should totally listen to it, because Carey Mulligan, who she is a big fan of, is reading it. And supposedly she's going to, because it's going to be made into a movie, and they're thinking that Carey Mulligan is going to play the main character because she read the audiobook. So she's also, I did not know she's very British, and it is very distracting. And I don't, sometimes I can't, when they do like multiple characters and they have a very thick British accent, I am getting lost in the sauce a little bit. Like she's a 1.1 type person. Like I can't go any faster.
Okay. I do have to say what's really cool too is that there are a lot of different types of audiobooks, in the sense of there's one company called Graphic Audio that makes dramatized versions of books, and so they literally have a full cast and some sound effects.
Sick.
That's
and
cool.
they read the audiobook, except they don't, like, instead of saying like, and she scowled while she said this, they don't,
it's like a
have
script
those,
at that point. Yeah.
Yes, it's like you just hear it in their voice that they're upset, when, you know what I mean, and it just skips, and it's really cool, and I like it a lot. The only thing that's kind of a bummer is that with graphic audio, typically they split up one book into multiple parts. I think, partly probably because of production value, and they need to kind of recoup costs on it.
Yeah.
But also this way they're able to release it in installments. So, you get it. In addition to graphic audio, which does that, I also enjoy when some books do duet narration. And that's different from dual narration in that in duet narration, there are two main point of view characters, and each of those characters will read their lines. Versus dual point of view narration is like maybe each chapter is a different character's point of view, and then those chapters are read by specific narrator by that character's point of view, and they still like give the like different voices for that other character. Like, do you know what I mean? Like in duet, they just read their own lines, but in dual, there's still some voice manipulation of trying to become another character. So there's like a bunch of different types of audiobook, recordings and methods, and they honestly, like, it's super cool. And I'm so glad that you found this medium. And like on it, when I tell people, like, I'll tell people like, oh, I read this book, and then if we deep dive into it, I'd be like, oh, well, it was audio. Like, I don't know. I just don't, go into what the differences are until like unless they really ask follow-up questions or something. You know what I mean? Because I'll be like, oh, I just finished so-and-so book, and it's never like, did you read it, or did you listen to read it? You know what I mean?
That'd be funny if someone asked that though.
Yeah, so don't feel bad, Matt. Just revel in the fact that you get to experience these stories.
If I ever get asked if I read something or read something, I'll just be like, why don't you guess? Just guess.
He definitely read it.
Yeah, he's a big listener. You could just tell. His glasses are for show.
All right. Well, I want to end this with a kind of new segment that I don't know if you guys will adopt this, but I want to do it for when I host.
Oh.
So we've kind of painted ourselves into these kind of, I guess, subdivisions of our show, right? Like, Matt, you're basically the movie guy. Tiffany's basically the book girl. Yasser's basically the gaming guy. So to end this episode, since we've been talking about, the ways we enjoy things, I want to ask each of you a recommendation, to share with the audience, to share with each other, right? So Matt, starting with you.
Oh my gosh.
If the movie was available in the theaters today, like this coming weekend.
Got it.
Any movie. So it doesn't have to necessarily be something new that's coming out this year, something that is currently in theaters, but that has been in a theater at some point, or maybe something that hasn't been in theater. Maybe it was like straight to home streaming, but you're like, maybe it deserves a shot in the theater. What movie would you recommend to go see in a movie theater this weekend?
Oh man, I hate that you started with me, so let me just point that out. Because now I'm like, what do I say?
It could be anything, for any taste, any flavor, right? Like, it doesn't, like, there's no wrong answer here.
I don't know why you're asking him that when, like, we can't watch the movie that he's trying to say. Well, like, how are we supposed to go back in time?
You know what, though? Actually, there is
maybe
one
you go
movie.
request, like, your local theater go show it. I don't know what they do.
You know what? There is one movie that will be shown because it's about to be the anniversary of this film being put out here, and it's something that I missed in the movie theater, and so I have it on my own list to go watch in the movie theater, which is Interstellar. Okay.
Oh my God.
I never watched that in the theater, and I can't wait to watch that because I watched it at home, and it was awesome. I loved it. It's still one of my favorite Christopher Nolan films of all time, which is a tough thing to do because Christopher Nolan's like my dude. But very excited to watch that because I just can't wait to hear that soundtrack and do it on the big screen. I think that would be really fun. I think it comes out, I can't remember. It's sometime over the summer, but it will get re-released. I think it's the 10-year anniversary that it's come out. So when that does come out, because it'll be nationwide. If it's here, it's going to be nationwide. Go to your local theater, watch Interstellar, because it is a marvel to your eyes and your sound buds. Go see it.
And your brain in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Interstellar. All right, Tiffany, you're next. Since we're since I made Yasser second in the intro, you're now second.
So are you saying I need to give a book recommendation? It's gonna be the one book that I've been recommending
Let
for
him finish his
everyone in
question.
the last couple of years.
This is gonna go off of what we just talked about. an audiobook recommendation. What audiobook would you recommend listeners go listen to?
So funny you should say that. Can I recommend one I've never listened to, but everyone and their mother says is amazing?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, if you want to,
I'm honestly double
amplify
dipping here.
something.
But Project Hail Mary is such a great book, and a lot of people say the
At least you
audiobook
read
is
it, though.
phenomenal.
In this case, you did read it. So
I read
this
it,
isn't
and
like some random thing. You're like, oh, the internet, it's a buzz with, this audiobook.
No. The people say the audiobook is phenomenal, and to be honest, I've actually borrowed the audiobook from the library, but I have had to return. I've borrowed it, returned it like 3 times this year without listening to it because I've had to prioritize listening to other audiobooks over that one because I've like waited like 8 weeks for an audiobook and then suddenly it appears and I'm like, well, I'm gonna listen to that instead of Project Hail Mary because I've already read that technically. Mm-hmm. Also, Project Hail Mary doesn't have like a wait list, so I can literally just like pick it up whenever I want.
Oh, so good.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're not stealing the copy away from someone that would want to listen to it.
No, because I'll immediately return it and then I'll like listen to like my other audiobooks. But
you're just like boosting the rental rates on this thing. The library's gonna look at their catalog and they're like, wow, people really love Project Hail Mary.
I mean, to be fair,
on
apparently,
audio.
yeah, there's a thing where I think the library like can return like audiobook licenses, like if no one's really listening to it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's like. Yeah, something that they do. I don't know if it's like they get partial refunds or something, or like they pay a rental fee to like have copies. I have no idea how the library works.
I kind of hope
honest.
it's like
just support them.
YouTube videos, and it's like, oh wow, this got rented out 100 times. Average listen time is 10 seconds. They hate this opening scene.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but Project Hail Mary.
Shout out, support your local library. Project Hail Mary. Go check it
Nice.
out. Overdrive. I don't know what other
Libby.
audio.
Libby's great.
Libby, whatever.
Audible. I guess you can do
Audible,
big
whatever
Amazon
product you have access to. All right, Yasser.
I'm curious, like,
Your
what this
last.
question's even gonna be.
Specifically, and this is because I want to target it, and even though I don't know how much you played recently, but a multiplayer game. At home, what is the multiplayer game you'd recommend people check out today?
Interesting.
on their TV, not on their Switch or Portal.
I will say.
I mean, it could be on the Switch. I don't know. Maybe there's a multiplayer hidden gem on the Switch.
I don't think I'm gonna recommend to play this on the Switch. I don't actually think it's available on the Switch, but it is to me a gem in the sense that I don't feel like I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I think it's available on PC and PlayStation, and it's called The Forest. It's this like open world survival game that has like story elements to it where you slowly figure out why you're on this island and you don't have like any memory of how you got here and what happened. And it's got like horror elements to it, but it's also completely cooperative where you can play the entire thing with up to 3 friends. And it is a lot of fun. So if you ever had the opportunity or you have ever come across The Forest, I would recommend it.
Is Slender Man in the forest?
I can't tell you that.
Okay,
it is as much a mystery as
it's a hard
it
no
is
for
a horror
me
movie,
because
or a horror game.
I'm not about the
Dang.
creepiness, but I can respect it.
Yeah, and I will say
All
it's
right,
very much
listeners.
not a Tiffany game. Just FYI.
Okay, noted.
All right, listeners, with that, you have these recommendations. Hopefully, if you have the time to make room for these things in your life, go check them out. Maybe leave a comment below if you enjoyed it or if you didn't. Let us know, and then maybe we won't recommend them again, or maybe we'll just tell you you're wrong, get better opinions. Who
Oh my
knows? But with that brings us to the end of another episode of the RXP podcast. Thank you for Grandmaster Doug for the theme song, and until next time, take care.
Welcome to Chili's.